All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on this beautiful planet. Welcome to the live pre-New York session. I'm your host, Benny Allen, for this morning session. I'm definitely happy and grateful for all of you being here with me this morning as we take a look at the technicals and the fundamentals to see what we can take advantage of in this Forex market. So without further ado, let's make sure that we turn off any and all distractions. Grab a pen and paper, take lots of notes, and let's make sure that we participate and engage on this Friday morning. So if everybody can hear me loud and clear, please do me a huge favor. Drop me a one in the chat. Let me know you can hear me. Let me know that you're all ready to go on this beautiful Friday morning. All right, I see good morning. All right, see the good mornings coming in. All right. Okay. So let's close this out and we will get right into the fundamentals. Second, and move some things around. And we'll start out, we'll go back to yesterday, Thursday, September the 14th, and the data out of the Eurozone. We know that we had a rate decision and monetary policy statement that came out. Then we had the press conference later on in the morning. It was busy yesterday. We had the core PPI retail sales data come out for the United States. But let's start with what happened with the central bank and ECB President Lagarde. So we got a rate hike of 25 basis points. The expectation was for them to hold. At least that was the forecast on the Forex factor. You see the projection was to hold at 4.25. They bumped it up 25 basis points to 4.5. But there were some interesting things that happened yesterday as, yes, typically, right, rate hikes are positive for the currency, but we saw the euro sell off yesterday. And that was because if we go over to the notes, which we also posted in the Discord, they did raise rates for the 10th consecutive time. But right, it's always about what's going on next. Okay. The ECB indicated that it might stop rate hikes soon as inflation is decreasing, but it's still higher than preferred. Right. So they are looking, towards the end of the rate hiking cycle. They're feeling like they're moving towards, of course, they said they're going to stay data dependent, but they feel like they are getting right towards those restrictive levels. And then it's just a matter of how long they hold at those restrictive levels, right? But again, they said they always throw that caveat in there. They're going to remain data dependent. So they're at 4.5 now, but we saw the euro sell off yesterday because the economic projections got adjusted to the downside, right? So inflation, they're looking at 5.6% in 2023, then down to 3.2% in 2024, and then 2.1% in 2025, right? So it's getting extended out a little bit. Now we're looking at that 2% target in 2025. Core inflation, excluding food and energy, they're looking at getting it back down to 2.2% in 2025. But here is where you saw things tail off. So not only was it, when you look at the forward guidance that, hey, we may be at the end of that tightening cycle with the rate hikes, but the GDP, right? Gross domestic product, that the health check on the economy, it got revised downward. All of them, right? 2023 down to 0.7%, 2024 lower projection at 1%, and then 1.5% in 2025. So if you thought it was kind of weird yesterday, like, hold on, they hiked rates, which a lot of people were thinking that they were going to hold rates. They actually hiked rates. Why didn't the euro take off? Because they revised down. First of all, the hike is looked at as dovish because she signaled that they may be at the end of the rate hiking cycle, but they revised down their GDP forecast. Okay, so you saw it sell off. So when we look at the strengthening factors, raising interest rates generally boost the attractiveness of the currency. Higher rates offer better returns on assets denominated in that currency, attracting foreign capital and thus potentially strengthening the euro. But the weakening factors were reduced GDP projections might indicate concerns over the euro area's economic health. which could dampen the attractiveness of the euro. So persistently high inflation can erode purchasing power, which may weaken the currency over time, right? So that's what happened yesterday. If you were wondering why the euro shot to the downside after a rate hike of 25 basis points. Any questions on that? Okay, well, core PPI, right, came through month over month at forecast for the United States. Core retail sales came in hot, right, a little higher than expected, 0.4%, came in at 0.6%. And then the PPI overall, right, month over month came through at 0.7%. All right, and then your overall retail sales came in at 0.6, and then unemployment claims beat forecast 220K, and unemployment claims were expected to be a little higher at 226,000. So, and then at 10 p.m., right, we see China, right? Good news out of China. The industrial production was expected to come through at 3.9%, but came through at 4.5%. All right, so that's some positive data coming out of China when at a time when we haven't had much positive data. And then today, fairly light, but we do have some important events. Empire State Manufacturing Index is due out today at 8:30, and at 10 a.m. we've got the University of Michigan Consumer Center. So, any questions on the fundamentals? Nope. All right. Going over, taking a look at the DXY. And we can see that we are pushing higher, right? We've broken above that weekly level. We got a slight correction, but then look, we got bullish once again. So overall, still bullish on the US dollar. Will it pause and make some corrections? Yes. But right now, we are still looking at a fairly strong dollar. So we'll see what happens as we close out the week. Moving into next week, Reese and I going back and forth this morning about the here in the United States, auto workers are striking against all three of the big three. So all of the top three automobile manufacturers, they are striking. But Reese said it's kind of a staggered strike. But technically, for the first time in history, it's the first time that the auto workers are striking against all three. So it should be quite interesting to see what happens with the dollar, how the market perceives that. I'm just wondering, Reese, does the auto industry with everything else, how big the tech sector has become, and just things globally, how large of an impact that has nowadays, compared to decades ago. So it should be quite interesting to see how it all plays out. Nobody can afford those cars, no way, for the most part. I don't. Well, here's the thing. That's true, but they had seen record profits for quite some time. Reese was saying today in the Discord, they're saying that 40%, I guess, wage increases could bankrupt them. But I've heard reports where the CEOs' wages have increased by 40% over a certain period of time. So I don't know about all that, but we shall see. We'll see how it plays out. The beautiful thing is, regardless of how it plays out, this market moves up, down, and sideways, and we will look to make money no matter what. That's the beautiful thing about being on the trading and investment side. So we'll see how it goes. But overall, still, right, we've got a dollar that's fairly bullish, right? And that's the thing about the dollar. We know that it could play as a safe haven as well if there becomes any type of major concern. So bullish on the dollar. We'll see if it moves up. And if you look at the 4-hour, right, we kind of start to see the next level creeping in here, right there. Okay, so we'll see if we continue to push higher. It's looking like it's finding a floor right now. So that's that. Any questions on the dollar? All right. So let's take a look at these euro pairs since we got that news yesterday. And we'll take a look at this daily chart, and we see that the dollar the euro dollar has declined all the way back down to this 106.38 level, right? So key level because we've been here before. Okay, so if we roll straight across, this is a weekly level, and we can see that we've got a reaction, right? Coming off the lows from the daily, and we're running right back into this 106.60. So if we move and work our way down through the charts, we can see here that technically on the 4, we have a new AB boundary. We're getting a reaction, right? Stochastics in the buy zone. We continue to drill down, and you can see that here on the 1 hour, we have an 80-20. Okay, we have an 80-20. Now, we've got a stochastic misalignment right now. 4 hours in the buy zone, 1 hour is not there, right? We are overbought. Okay, so the question becomes, yes, we're technically in the 80-20 zone. Yes, they cut GDP growth in the Eurozone, push prices down, but is it time for a slight recovery? Because we did see a rate hike nonetheless. All right. So we are technically, from a technical perspective, we are in an 80-20 zone, and we've gotten a reaction off this 106.38. So the question is this going to be a pullback and a continuation, or are we going to make a lower low, right? So we just drive down, we drill down through the lower time frames, coming to the 15-minute, and you can see here that we do have an inner trend line break, and price is pushing up. So this is already started an ABCD wave here. So what we can look for, okay, you can see same thing over and over again. Okay, we've gotten a pullback. Strong resistance DXY 105.62. I'm thinking one more push down and then a bounce. Yep, I can see where you got that idea for sure. So we're definitely gonna see, right? So maybe if this fib holds, we get to this D extension, right? So a couple of scenarios. We get to that D extension, right? And if we do get the momentum, right, then we reset and then we continue long, right? Or we turn over, right? That's the game that we play. So you can see here we're getting a slight push down. So for example, technically you got a trend line break there, and 2, right below that A, or you can put it right below that support. Yeah, so the question is, do we get to this D extension, or do we turn over and we fail, right? And that kind of plays into what Reese is talking about, right? It could go either way. So just continue to watch the price action on that one. No play here, as this one is already taken off. But if we get to that D extension, then we can possibly look for a pullback. Oops. A pullback and a continuation. And hey, either it's going to go or it's going to turn over and hit that stop loss. So we'll see. So now this is taking off, we'll wait for something. See how it goes. But it could, right? Could continue to push down and break that 106 level. It caught my eye this morning because it held at that level again. And looking at it from the higher time frame, that's a major level. So, ultimately it may continue down, but do we get a retracement, for example, off of this 1 hour? Right? Do we get price to move up before continuing short? Right? Sometimes it's hard to figure out the timing on that. So you just plan your trade your plan, and see what happens. You know, but technically we're in the 80-20 zone. It's just a matter of if we find some momentum. Okay. Any questions on this Euro USD? Nope. Okay. All right. So let's move along, and we'll take a look at our Euro Aussie. We'll go through these Euros real fast since that was the big news yesterday. So right, we're kind of moving into these same positions. So on the daily, right, here we are, we're moving down through this correction. We're at 50% now in this Euro Aussie from the daily. Okay, we were tracking it on the 4 and the lower time frames, and you can see that we finally come down and hit TP1. 80-20, we're at 382. Keep in mind, on the daily chart, we're at 50% on the correction. So TP1 got a hit. So out of that zone, that was a good zone to trade because we had a weekly resistance level right in line with our 80-20 zone. And it came down 600 pips or so off the high. Okay. And that's just since August, right? So it's, sometimes it took a while for me to get my head wrapped around it, especially like we always say a lot of times when you initially come into trading, you're taught on the lower time frames and things move a lot faster. But when you look at a 600 pip move, you look at from middle of August to the middle of September, looking at pretty much a month. That's good. That's good price action. Okay, that's good price action. So TP1 has been hit, right? And so now if we come down to the 1 hour chart, right, and this is why when I saw the Euro USD and started clicking through the rest of the Euro charts, and you can see how I come up with the idea like maybe it's pushed down. Do we start to see a bit of a correction, right? We find some buyers at some of these levels because we've hit TP1, and technically on this 1 hour chart, we're in the 80-20 zone. So it's kind of same as that Euro USD. Is this a real move, right? And a real correction to the upside that's going to sustain itself? Or is it kind of like Reef saying, hey, it's just a little push up for one more drive down to make a lower low, and then maybe we see that correction. But this is on a 5-minute chart here, and you can see that it's pushing up. So if we ride off of that higher time frame chart, that 1 hour, it becomes, do we see a continued drive up, right? So if we draw our trend lines, we'll just kind of see how far back do we want to go. We've got an inner trend line there. Back 4, 5. So we'll start it here. The high, work our way forward like this. Then we'll see this move down. That. And here, we don't need that. We can drop this. There we go. Just like that. Okay. You can see we've broken this inner trend line. So the question becomes, just like that Euro USD, are we due for a correction? Does it hold, right, for this wave, right? So we've already had a few waves. Does it hold? This is a 5-minute chart, okay? And then do we continue? That's the question. That's the question. So when it hits the zone, this is one that I would pay attention to see if we're going to get a continuation to the upside. So if we come back out and, for example, we mark this 382 target, for a shorter term move, right? can we pull back and get there, right? Can we pull back in the zone and get back to that 382? That's 93 pips to that extension, 63. Okay, so you've got time. So we let it pull back to our sweet spot because, right, the data was mixed, you know, with the euro rate hike, but cut GDP growth and a signal that, hey, we may be at or near the end of our tightening cycle. We definitely, right, we wait for the pullback and we wait for additional confirmation, trend line breaks, things of that nature. Okay. Any question on the Euro Aussie? Okay, market moves up, down, and sideways. We've had a beautiful move to the downside. We're at 382. So now it's, hey, do we get a short-term correction? If you think, hey, this is going to continue short, the euro, then you needed to move in this direction anyway so you can get a high price, right? Because we've been playing it short down to this 382. Okay, played it short down to that 382. We see we got a 4 hour stochastic that's in the buy zone now. It's moved a long way out of that 80-20 zone. So it's a matter of, are we going to correct now? Because on the daily, we're at 50% on the retracement. So it's, hey, are we going to just continue off of this level and get long? Or is this, and this is where things sometimes are hard to tell, and this is why your trade plans and you trade your sweet spots, or is this going to pull back and then continue lower? Okay. So if that occurs, okay, then I would love to entertain that. Okay, because that's technically in my sweet spot zone. Whereas this level here, maybe on the lower charts, 1 hour, like we were going over 5 minutes, we play that correction play to the upside, right? If we're into that, and then we should wait and see from there. So this one should be interesting. Any other questions? Any thoughts on this pair? And then the other option is, right, ultimately, you can stay out. You stay out of it, especially if you've caught a lot of pips, to the downside. Okay, so let's see. I want to take a look at this Euro CAD on the 1 hour. As it's been moving to the downside, we know oil has been strong, positive for the CAD. Okay, Euro got weak. So we are moving up off the B boundary. Do we continue to push up? Right, back into this 144.99, 144.81 weekly level. Do we stall out once we hit that sell zone and then good short? All right. So we see that continuation to the upside, right? In the near term, once we reach a high price, reach some of those levels, potentially look for a correction back to the downside. Okay. So I'm waiting on that. We don't have, this one is straight off the B boundary. We don't have a, 80-20 or anything like that. So if this continues to move higher, then I look to pay real close attention once we get to those levels there. Any questions on the EuroCAD?
No.
All right, appreciate it. Okay, Euro Swissy. This one here, right? Just want to touch base on it. This 80-20. This is just whipping around all over. This is the pretty pretty nasty price action, right? Which is ranging. But I just wanted to go over this one because technically we are still, right? We haven't hit the stop. Okay, so what I want to do, I want to move this, take the smart uh, trend line off there because we're just ranging, right? We're just moving sideways. So we're right back at this 95.22 daily support level. Stochastic in the buy zone. This has now come to this level 1, 2, 3, 4 times, right? It's tried to push through that level, and right now it is holding. So this is still intact, right? So I don't know if anybody is holding this, but hasn't hit my stop. So we're looking to get a move to the upside on this. So just continue to be patient if you're in it. Any questions on the Euro Swissy? That's pretty simple.
No.
All right, appreciate it. Euro GBP. Okay. We've had a move, right? We went over this week to the upside, but now we've gotten a correction because of yesterday's news, but we're holding within this AB boundary and we are in a sweet spot for this Euro GBP. So this is a potential buy here, right? We get a bullish move now. So we'll see if we get a continuation up, but this one is in play, right? Yes, cutting GDP growth, but right, we got a rate hike nonetheless. We're in a sweet spot. So if you're looking for a bullish continuation on the Euro GBP, we are in a pretty good zone to take a shot on that. All right, see if we can get one more ABCD wave, right? We've gotten one already, right? Get your A, B, C, D. Do we get the next one? Okay. Does this continue? 4 hour stochastic, way oversold, so that momentum seems to definitely be slowing to the downside. And do we continue from here? Right? Play the probabilities. And we figure that the probabilities are in our favor if we trade in our sweet spot. So that's a setup right there on a Euro GBP that could potentially move higher. Any questions on the Euro GBP?
No.
No? All right. So moving on to the Euro JPY. All right. So we know, right? We're at high levels, but look at how this just continues to hold at this 156.88. It's bouncing around. Okay, bouncing around. We're getting the euro. We've got some positive movement to the upside pretty much across the board on these euros this morning. Okay, so at least in the short term, is moving bullish off of yesterday's data. Here's that range. Okay, that we're talking about. Where you see it fill the gap, it puts right back down, but it's having a hard time at that 156.88 level, and we've gotten a reaction. 4 hour stochastic is in the buy zone. So when we come back to the one, this trade has danced all over the place, but it is still sitting within our AB boundary. Okay, and that's the beauty in looking at all your pairs is because you start to see some tendencies, right? And this is how we catch a lot of pips often, because this is when it goes our way, all at once, it's a beautiful thing. So we've got this pushing this acceleration up. Right. So the question becomes as we hit the edge of that 80-20 zone, right? We got a little bit closer, I think, on the 5 minute. If I creep down to the 5, it's actually right in the zone. Yep. Right at that 118 level. Right. And you can see how for our day traders, you're getting a correction down, right? So 382.618 potential targets. So we'll stay here on the 5. So what we're looking for is do we correct, make the move down? And then continue long, right? If this euro is in that correction phase after the decline yesterday. And then this euro again, of course, we know how we feel about the yen. We've talked about that. So do we ultimately correct which is what we're seeing on the lower time frames, and move higher from there. Okay. Questions on the euro yen?
No.
All right. And the reason why I'm looking at this is because I know we're at some high prices on the daily, but it's struggling at this level. It keeps getting back above this 156.80. Right? It keeps dancing around this level and then finding buyers at this level. So I'm wondering if it, it'll just continue to the top of the range that we're looking at on the higher time. Okay. Then take a look at this Euro NZD. Let me go back. What time frame? And on the Euro, you want me to draw it from the higher time frame and then bring it down? Yeah, we could do it. So I'll do it like this. Yeah. So we're playing in between those price levels. Okay. All right. So we'll see if we can continue the positive momentum on that one. Tested the 4-hour level several times before. It has, right? It has multiple times. All right. So that's why I still have that potentially to the upside, right? So we've got some stochastic misalignment. So we'll see when this 1 hour cycles down, if we're still, within the AB boundary of this latest impulse leg to the upside. Okay. So when we cycle down on the 1 hour, we still hold within the AB boundary, either on your 5 minute or your 15 minute. Okay, that's your 15 there. But you can see how we've gotten a reaction, right? We've got a consolidation, a range, and we've got a breakout. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so here we are. Let's take a look at this Euro NZD, and we'll wrap up the Euro crosses. So we see from the higher time frame that a while ago we knew we had a 382. But we noticed, right, this was a couple of weeks ago now, that we've had lower lows and lower highs, right? That's where we have that trend line moving on the top. And we've continued to move lower on this Euro NZD. So now that we've broken that 108 level, right, if it falls in line with the rest of these Euro pairs, at least for today, do we start to make a move back to retest the level that we just broke? Right? So that's the question. Right? We can see here on the 4 how we hit a D extension. We hit a D extension, and we've come right back down to the trend line. You guys remember we talked about this, right? Price will move down to come down and retest that trend line. So it's just a matter of, with our 4 hour stochastics in the buy zone, you see all these Euro crosses are kind of in the same position today. Is this a that pullback, And then we drive down to break that trend line. We shall see. We'll see where that momentum takes us. And sometimes these are the situations where we have these, these different variables happening with the euro. We got the correction right. We're in this up retracement zone. We've gotten the correction right to the downside. So we've been right on that. We've come into a de-extension. So oftentimes people will get in this situation and say, well, if I'm, for example, if I'm long on this euro NZD, I'm looking at the New Zealand currency, I'm looking at the euro overall, I think I want to get long. Do I buy? That's when we ask the question, well, what does your trade plan say? If you're playing this 4-hour chart and you say, I'm looking for a trend continuation to the upside eventually, and this is a correction, what does your trade plan say? If your trade plan says that you only look to buy in your sweet spot, 61.8 or deeper, then you need to wait. You need to move on to another chart and wait to see if price moves into your desired buy zone. Everybody follow me, and that drop me a 1. That's very, very important. It's subtle, but it's important, right? Because you have to have filters, and that's what your trade plan is for. Because everything will look good in it. Right? What do I trade? What do I pass on? So if I'm a swing trader and I say I go from the monthly, the weekly, the daily, and then the lowest I go is my 4-hour chart, which there's several people, my mentor, he used to just trade, the lowest he would go is 4-hour chart. So if I'm trading a 4-hour chart and I'm looking to trade with the trend and I'm eventually looking for this to get back long, then I'm not trading this here if my trade plan tells me to trade at a 61.8 or deep. Right? So adding those filters enables us to simplify things. So I'm not long on this at all, period, because it's not in my zone. I have to go and I have to navigate through my charts. I have to do my weekly prep. I have to go through and see, are there any setups on these pairs that are in my zones, in the zones that my trade plan tells me that I can trade? Sometimes there's 5 or 6 pairs. Sometimes there's one. Sometimes there might not be any, and you have to wait. And it might require you to sit on your hands for a week. Okay, that's the way the game goes. That's the way it goes. So this is where we are. So if you feel like right now, like I'm in no man's land on this trade. Like I played it short. I've got off this sub fib of the extension. We're just about out of 382. We're up against the trend line. Well, it is what it is. You're out of that trade right now, and you're sitting and waiting for the next move based on your trade. Okay. Any questions on this euro NZD? Let's go down to the 1-hour chart. Take a look at it. You can see here on the 1-hour, right? I had to manually draw this one because the fib hasn't caught up yet. The smart fib, but we got a new AB boundary, and price is pulling back. Okay. So if you think this is going to move lower, say you're out of the position now, and you think it's going to move lower. Well, if I'm sell side, what does my trade plan tell me? If I think there's going to be a further move to the downside, and my trade plan tells me that I need to trade at a 61.8 or higher, then I need to wait for that trade to move to a high price so I can sell it. All right. Joy calling sell only. All right. So Joy's trade plan, wherever her sweet spots are, then she's going to wait to sell it. All right. Because this is when things become disastrous. When you move outside of your trade plan and your trade plan tells you, hey, trade at a 61.8 or higher, okay, and you short off the 236. Well, then what happens to you? Price moves higher. Okay. Anybody been there before? No, I have. Price moves higher. And now I'm in drawdown. And don't be over leveraged, because then it's definitely disastrous. Now your trade psychology is all messed up. And you jump out of the trade and you've lost money. You're giving your money to the market, right? You had to pay tuition to the market. You're kicking yourself saying, I should have just waited. And then price eventually moves up. But if you're so discouraged, you're mad, right? Because you lost your money. Okay. The market's cashed in on you. Then you may move totally off this trade and you didn't even realize that it eventually moved to a 61.8 and then it started to get short. So then you missed that setup. So now I'm mad. I lost my money. And then the trade moved to my zone that I'm supposed to trade anyway. And then it's short 200 pips and I missed it because my trade psychology is off. Right? And so that's how it goes in a market that literally moves up, down, and sideways. It's very primitive. But like we always say, our brain complicates this thing. Right? So you might here. Okay. My sweet spot is a 61.8 or higher. I got short off the 382, price bounced back. Okay. Now, if your risk management is good, all right, you could potentially save yourself. Bad entry, swing eventually went my way, right? But most of us don't hang into it and don't hang in a trade that long, at least yet, to be able to make up for that and to play that game, right? But if your risk management is off and you're playing it tight, you're gonna get stopped out or you're gonna be in a massive drawdown, and it's gonna be a very, very frustrating, right? So stick to your trade plan. That's that. All right. So that's the euros. Any questions on the euros overall?
No.
All right. So this is no different than anything else. In order to make money at your job, you have to get up on time on a daily basis. You have to show up and you have to work, right? It requires discipline. You go to college, you go to university, spend 4 years earning a degree. It requires discipline, right? This is no different. This is no different. Wait 2 weeks to get paid. Stay in the trade longer than 5 minutes. Yep, that's true. That is correct. So that's that. Let's take a look at this cash switching. Continuing to move off the lows. All right, we'll take a look at the 1 hour. We know we're moving off the lows on a higher time frame. We have a new AB boundary now, right? This trade played out a little while ago, but now, okay, can we get price to correct it to our sweet spot? If you're still holding it long based off the higher time frames, cool. Maybe this gives you an opportunity if we drive lower and we correct lower to add to your position. If you're looking for an initial position and your trade plan tells you 61.8 or deeper with the trend, then you wait for that. Then you wait for that. Right? So we are waiting for potential correction, right? And then a continuation on the cash whistle. Any questions on that? That's been a good one so far.
No.
All right. All right. Appreciate it. Cat Yin. This is one of the trades of the year, right? Like weekly, you got a retest and a continuation. Weekly stochastic is bullish, right? We are steady moving towards that 900 pip target. It took a while to break that 108.16, but when it did, it broke it, right? So now the question becomes, right? Do we break and close beyond, right? This 109.46, which is kind of right in line with our B boundary zone. We now have, right? You have resistance here. I mean, resistance becoming potentially support eventually if the CAD decides to correct right there. Okay. So we'll link that down. Okay. So we're in between these levels, this 108.53 and that 109.46. Do we continue to drive through it? At some point on the lower time frames, do we correct back down? So here we are on the 4. Okay. Crown reversal playing out on the money. So continuing to push long. And the key level, here we are on the 1. Makes sense, don't it? There. Okay. A, B, C. This is the overall glide path. How it looks is different, right? The price action is different, but the big picture is the same. Big picture is that ABCD wave. And we hit it right on the money, right up against that daily resistance that we're seeing from the higher time. Okay. Making moves, been in since 713. That is quite some time, right? That is quite some time. Nice job. Nice job. As we say all the time, patience pays. Great, great work. Jeremy, 39 days you've been holding, right? Let's drop some 7s in the chat for everybody that's been developing that discipline and having that patience. Great job, everybody. Great work. Great work. Right. Great, great work. Right. Developing that skill of trade management, deciding when to add, when not to add, it's a skill set that we're all working to develop. Great job on the patience. Right? That oil price is moving up. That CAD is moving up. And right a while ago, that CAD was moving to the downside, and we were all wondering, like, well, when is the CAD going to benefit from the oil prices? We know that they gave the signal for cuts in oil production. We know the demand is there. We know that, hey, that oil price is moving up. But for quite some time, because of some of the things that were happening economically and some of the monetary policy decisions that were happening with the Canadian dollar, it just wasn't impacting the CAD, right? Like we thought it would, the oil price. But eventually, you could see that it caught up, and the CAD got going right along with oil. So that's the CAD yen. We'll take a look at the Swissy yen. Still no break, right? No break of that, no relief yet on that 164 level. It is still holding there. Right. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking to play this range, right, but I will take a look if we start to break lower and make some lower lows and lower highs, right? So we'll see if that happens. That's my trade plan. You guys may be playing it to the upside still. But let's move down. Take a look at some things here on the 21. See if we got going. It's just moving sideways, but it's holding that level. I wonder Continue to push. I don't know. It's choppy. I'm not playing that. I do see the possibility of a wave there if it wants to move back to the top of that range, but we'll see. I'd rather see it move lower since it's sitting so high right now. That's it on the switch in. That's all I have on that one. What else? We've got a few minutes left. Anybody want to take a look at a particular pair before we close out on this Friday?
NU and gold.
To the NU and gold, CBP USD too. Okay. So let's look at gold, and then we'll work our way back up from there. Moving on up. Joy, did you play this 80-20?
Sure did.
Yeah. So what I would say is because short, right, off the break on the 4, right? So I'm still thinking bearish overall, and this is a correction, but that was a 1 hour play buy side on this 80-20. So I'm more so looking forward to move to a high price and hold within this AB boundary. That's closing in on TP too, right? I'll get it to and this AB boundary and then a continuation short, because that's my long-term play off the 4. But you got a 4 hours to cash that the momentum is way down, right? And so we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But the trend line break was my play, and now it's pulling back. So kind of just trade what you see. And I guess you can win either way on that. You still hold that? You still holding that to the upside, or did you get out at the first target?
Actually, I'm on my second entry. So
Oh yeah, second entry. So you're looking for a continuation to for it to move back up.
actually, yeah, I was waiting for it to see if it either came back to the C for a double top or go to
Oh,
the B
okay.
spot.
Yeah, I got you. I got you. If it takes that next high out, then I'm out. I'm out on that one. So we shall see what happens. See what happens when it comes in at that 1924. If it wants to form a high there and continue to push higher. So all right, that's that on gold. So X will move up to the N's and the NU. And then we'll move and we'll wrap things up with the pound dollar. And get something else. Oh, you were banking on the strikes. I see. So NU 4 hour. Let's move it up off that where's the next price? Oh, that's right. Okay. It's moving up off that 59.39 level. So technically we're in the 80-20 zone off of 4. I mean, that would require that dollar to cool off a bit. Right? It's sitting at some highs. So moving into next week, do we see a little bit of a correction in the dollar? Because it may correct and then and make one more drive up. But a correction in the DXY before it pushes higher could lead to this moving up at least to that 382 target. So that's where I am right now with it. Is we're in a down retracement zone. We're in the 80-20 off the 4. How are you playing that, Joy?
I am playing that. I just got off the chart. I am long on this right now. I've been holding it. And
Yeah.
dang it, I was trying to give you my number. Because I've been holding it since that day I had told you about it.
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So that's good. Danette says she's in long too. Yes, it seems
I
to be
could have
right.
been.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, we're in a potential to get correction phase, right? And that's where we are until the market tells us otherwise, right? We're not at a high price where if you're looking for an initial short, you know, based on your trade plan, of course. We haven't reached a high price. If you're looking at the 4, it's got quite a
Five
ways
eight
to go
five
for that.
16.
58516.
Yeah.
Okay. 58516. Oops. So you're up right now. See if it can maintain that positive momentum to the upside. Great work. Great work. Great entry on that. Donna says she's sitting long. We got some folks sitting long in it. I mean, technically this is in the zone. Right? It's in the zone. And when I was first taught this move, I was just like, man, it doesn't make any sense. Like there's no way in the world. You
I'm
know,
sorry,
after
that's my
the
stop loss. It's I'm sorry. I cannot see. I ain't got my glasses on. It's 588.49. So yeah, the 585.16, my stop loss.
588.49. See a little bit higher. Okay. So you're slightly in profit. That's right off the 127. Yep. All right. You can roll it. And I see where I see how you play that. So that's decent. That's decent. That's still decent. See how it plays out. But for the life of me, I'm like, man, this move doesn't make any sense until keep seeing it play out over and over and over again. Like you got such an impulsive move down and you got dollar strength, but then you start to understand that the market moves in waves. You find low prices, you have buyers come in and push that price up, you know, and the game just does the same thing over and over again. Right? So you just have to see it, right? That's why we get on here day after day after day and we do what we do, because you have to get the repetitions in order to find confidence in the setups. All right, so that's the NU. Let's go to the pound dollar. Go to the pound dollar. And so just coming from that higher time frame, we were just looking at a potential future projection. If this level holds, right? 123, 120, 366, 123.06. If that holds, a possible head and shoulders if we get a bounce, but in the near term right now, right, moving short to that 123.66 support level. Okay. And here on the 4-hour chart, okay, you can see that we've reached that 382 and we're pushing to that D extension. Right on the money. Okay. So we're going to come into that 123.66. That's right in line with that sub fib, that 1.618 extension. And then from there, it's just, hey, do we get a continuation down deeper into the zone? Do we get TP2? But if you are out at that 32, go ahead and secure the bag, right? It's a counter trend move over 600 pips. Over 600 pips. That's it's pretty decent. Right? It's pretty decent. So that's where we are. Right now, it's still making lower lows and lower highs. We're coming into some key levels. Okay. Has resistance becoming future support. So we'll see what happens there. But a lot of downside pressure on that pound, especially with the dollar being as strong as it has been. Any questions on the pound dollar?
Oh,
No? All right. Well, that's that for this session. Oh, let's take a look at our UJ before we wrap it up. Definitely want to take a look at that. Okay. Take a look at this UJ. Still pushing long. Still pushing long on the UJ. Okay. up pretty good right now. We moved to the lower time frames to the 4. We filled that gap. And we're pushing towards that 4-hour D extension, right? We had a double bottom, right? So we didn't get a deep retracement there, but we got a double bottom, and you can see how we got super bullish. Okay, super bullish off that double bottom. Okay. And now we're moving long. So we look for that D extension is holding above that 147.40. We're definitely going to get back towards that 150. Okay, so for those of you holding those UJ longs, continue to hold, look for opportunities to add to your position. Any questions on that? No? All right. That's that for this session. Hey, this Saturday, no ritual. We'll make sure we post setups, get that newsletter out, but no ritual. Ryan and I both have major commitments that we have to be at early on Saturday. So Ryan will definitely sit out of the communication, but no weekly ritual this Saturday at 7 a.m. Okay, so we'll make sure we get everything posted and updated in the Discord. Just wanted to let everybody know. Like I said, again, we'll send out an email communication. All right. Any questions about anything before we wrap things up?
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Joe, you got a painting project in your new home, so you can start painting early. Sounds good. All right, everybody. Hey, I appreciate you all being with me this morning. Okay. And we look forward to seeing everybody next week. You all have a great weekend. Be looking for the information in the Discord. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye for now. Great week.
Thank you.
You're welcome.